We are going to put the miners and the factory workers and the steel workers back to work. We're bringing our companies back.
That was Donald Trump appearing in Scranton, Pennsylvania, the day before he won that state in the presidential election, along with Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, and other Rust Belt states where millions of the blue-collar workers who had supported President Obama twice this time went for the Republican. So, are the concerns of those folks now driving the political agenda in this country? Back with us now, Dana Loesch, Mark Thiessen, Chris Stirewalt, Brian Kilmeade, and Julie Roginski. So that's the question, whether these are the new power brokers of America.
Absolutely, and they're easy to get. To me, we're going to start making coal. We're going to start mining coal again. And here's what I've heard, and I'm not an energy expert, but I do know this: coal can be made into oil. And I also think that there's plenty of customers outside our borders for coal. The problem coal has is natural gas is booming, and natural gas is a competitor.
Oh.
But if you could start exporting coal to customers that are waiting for it, as opposed to going elsewhere, these states not only will go to Donald Trump this time, next time they'll stay in the Republican column.
Brian Kilmeade, I love you like a brother, but
Here it comes.
that's not how that goes. So making coal into oil is called liquefaction, and it can be done. It's not cost effective because oil is real cheap right now, relatively speaking. The reason that the coal industry has been in the can is because of environmental regulations on the burning of coal to produce electricity. That's what it's for. We have all this delicious, beautiful, gorgeous West Virginia coal, the finest in the world,
Look at that.
that burns great and makes electricity. We used to make more than half of our electricity in the country with it. And we've been shoving it down because of new mandates to burn natural gas, but also to use windmills and other sources of renewable energy. These voters, if you look at the map, if you do a heat map of where the counties are that had the biggest switch from Obama to Trump, the very counties you were talking about in your introduction, it is like gravity around the Great Lakes. It is the intensity around the Great Lakes, basically from Buffalo all the way around to Milwaukee. And it just, the center of gravity around these Great Lakes and the Rust Belt and these former industrial communities, we're looking at counties that went 25 points.
Well, what's your point?
My point is, it ain't just coal. It's about people who have seen their communities ravaged by opioid addiction. This is about communities where the schools are broken, the churches are empty, the families aren't functioning, people are desperate. They voted for Obama because they wanted change. They voted for Trump for the same reason.
So, but what does that mean as a practical matter? Like, what does that change look like for these folks?
I mean, because I agree with everything that you just said. It's not, and the book that I wrote in June gets into why Donald Trump actually won, the white working class blue collar voter. Some of it's coal, some of it's jobs, some of it's trade, but we have to think too, these are individuals who, my family this is my family, this demo, all my family are Southern Missouri. They're all Ozark voters, they all talk like this.
I was going to say, I just heard it come in on you.
She slipped right into it.
Came right in on you.
That's how they live, but they are good people, and they were tired of being abused by the Democrat Party. It's amazing to me that this is the demographic that Bill Clinton, that Al Gore, that the Democrat Party of the 1990s, they relied upon these people. They exploited these people for votes. They used these people. They paid them lip service. Now here we are in 2016, and they're struggling. How are we going to pay our bills? We can't afford health care. We can't put food on our table. And you're talking to me about what pronoun I should use? You're telling me what bathroom my children should, where my kids can go to the bathroom? That wasn't putting food on the table. This whole conversation about transgender everything and everything going on in the Carolinas, none of that's putting food on these people's tables, and they were done with it.
You raised such a good point because, and I've done a lot of soul searching. I think a lot of Democrats have too. I've said this before. The problem for my party has become, and I take full responsibility for this myself because I think I've been condescending about it as well, as a lot of Democrats and a lot of people, including me, don't sit around worrying about putting food on the table. We don't sit around. We can go ahead, and I've gone on TV 100 times talking about how great Obamacare is and how wonderful it is and how it's expanding opportunities for health care for people. But it's not taking a larger chunk out of my paycheck to the point where I have to decide whether to put food on the table or pay higher premiums. Talking about how the economy is getting better because people's stock market portfolios are getting better. But it's not getting better for a lot of the people, Dana, that you talked about. And I think the problem for the Democrats are they were selling a narrative to their coastal elites. And I take full responsibility for doing that as well. I did it for 2 years. before I realized that those coastal elites are completely out of touch with exactly the people, Chris, that you talked about,
We
which
love
are the
you
people.
anyway. The
Well,
people
thank
of
you.
Ohio County, West
Thank
Virginia
you.
love you
Thank
anyway.
you very much. I've never been there, but I love them back.
And every time a celebrity talked, I think it was a repellent instead of it used
The
to.
Democrats, they don't get that at all.
Well, and they were doubling
we try out
I get
Lena
it.
Dunham and even Lady Gaga, and
Right.
it's having exactly the opposite effect
Well,
of
and
the one you're
they
intending.
doubled down on it because these people were good enough to vote for the Clintons, but they're racist because they voted for Trump, and they hear that message. I mean, that's what they heard over and over again.
And they have their
heard that
power
they were-
in the voting booth.
And they
Go
heard
ahead,
they were
Mark.
deplorable. They heard that they're bitter people who cling to guns and God and don't like people who are like them. And then for all the last 8 years, Barack Obama has been telling them how unemployment is down to record levels. The problem is that the labor participation rate is so low because millions of people have left the workforce because they just gave up looking for jobs.
the way
so
you
these
guys
people, this is something when you're in the White House and you're writing speeches like I did for Bush, what you say when you're the president has to actually comport with what's happening on the ground. So I could have, in 2006, I could have written speeches about Iraq and said, we're winning, we're turning the battle around, and people saw things blowing up on their cameras and said, no, it's not getting better. It was only when the surge happened that people started listening to those speeches. And it's the same thing with the economy. When the president steps out and says the economy is getting better, we've got X million jobs created and all the rest, and you're sitting there, and it's not comporting with your reality, you reject it.
See, my problem is you guys just pointed out everything that they want, but Donald Trump is not Zeus. He can't make all of this stuff
Whoa,
happen.
whoa. That's not what I've heard.
That's not what he thinks, by the way.
That's not what I've heard.
He would disagree with you, Brian.
I was going to say,
Go ahead,
fact
back to where you
check,
are.
fact check, fact check.
No, but he can't go ahead and get drugs get drugs away from your teenagers.
Right.
He can't give you all raises. He can't make healthcare better. Your doctors perform more adequately and make the surgery come out great. What he could do is give you opportunity to be successful.
Right.
He's got to make it clear. I'm not going to make everything better. I'm going to give you an opportunity to make your lives better. The overall arching theme now that he got the job is you have to do it yourself. I'm going to give you the opportunity.
One of the ways in which he has said he's going to do that is he's going to take care of manufacturing, right? He's going to place tariffs on goods that are made out by American companies outside of our borders. And the reality of that, according to the economists, is it's actually just going to
make things worse.
It's going to make things
I don't
worse.
want to pay $5
exactly
for a cucumber.
If
Right.
you're,
I don't want to lose all the dollar stores.
So if you're
for-
one of those
like,
workers
love
who's-
those.
Walmart.
If you're one of those workers who's been out of work and dropped out of the workforce, and he puts a 45% tariff on goods coming from China, guess what? Your prices in Walmart just went up 45%.
Right.
So what you're paying
Little
is going to go
smiley
up.
face. This is a sad face
In
now.
2012, Newt Gingrich got in big trouble when he said of Paul Ryan's proposed changes to entitlement programs, he said right-wing social engineering is no more attractive to voters than left-wing social engineering. He got in huge trouble for saying it. He was right. He was right.
Well,
That's why he got in trouble.
He may be the Trump whisperer now, and so we'll see whether he pushes him off of these positions.